Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Pete here with MixBetterNow.com, and I have a brand new plugin review for you. We're going to be taking a look at the FabFilter Pro-R Reverb. Let's check it out. All right, so I got a session pulled open here in Pro Tools. It's the same session that I used for my reviews of BX Rooms and Verb Suite Classics. It's The Surface of Things by Andy Gullahorn. I wanted to use the same session so that you guys could have a good comparison when watching the other ones, and just kind of, figuring out what's best for you or what you like. So pay attention to the lead vocal here. I have two instances of Pro-R. The first one is what I call an office verb, which is a very small room. That is this one right here. It's on the Fat Ambience preset. We got a pretty short decay time, 0.27 seconds. Then I have a vocal plate here on the right of 1.5 seconds. So let's take a listen to that. First verse.
When's the last time we looked each other in the eye? Last time we dressed up for the ball. Last time we felt a raging jealousy inside, or any raging feeling at all.
Second verse.
There's a whole world happening just under our breath, covered by the slinging of mud. There's a pain that doesn't even have a name yet. Injury, hemorrhaging blood. There's a fire still flickering from years ago, unsure if it should comfort or burn.
All right, so as you guys can hear, this reverb sounds absolutely fantastic. It's very easy to use. I'm a big FabFilter fan. They're probably one of the few plugin companies that I use truly in every mix that I do, that I kind of can't live without. So I'm very excited to review this for you. What I want to do now is we'll just explain some of the features, and then we will dive into the sound sets and check out what it can do. Okay, so the first thing I want to make you guys aware of is, just as the rest of all of the other FabFilter plugins, we can change the size of the interface. So on the bottom right hand corner here, we can go medium, large, extra large, which is a very handy tool to have. The plugins look extra crisp. They are Retina display supported, so very high def looking, very cool. And then of course we have this this full screen button right here, so I can hit this and we can literally go the full size of the screen, which is very nice when we're EQing and kind of making intelligent decisions. Depending on the size of the monitor you're running, it just can be a very, very cool thing. So I want to stay in here for a minute. That way we'll look at some of the features. It'll be bigger, easier to see, all that kind of stuff. Now, what makes Pro-R kind of special is that we can shape the decay time. Essentially what this means is we can use EQ. We have two EQ sections. This is called the post EQ in yellow. This is the decay time or decay rate EQ in the blue. And essentially what that means is with the blue, we can control the reverb tails, and we can EQ those, and then with the post section we can EQ the entire reverb sound. A very common practice to do is to put an EQ after your reverb and your send, but here you don't have to do that because you have such a tweakable and customizable EQ post reverb. All right, so with the shape of the decay time of a real room often varies widely over the frequency spectrum, which is one of the key ingredients of a room's reverb character. To simulate this, the industry first decay rate EQ concept in the Pro-R offers completely free adjustment of the decay time over the frequency spectrum, as I just said. Since it uses parametric EQ bands instead of traditional crossover system, it provides much more flexibility to shape the decay time characteristics. And combined with the post EQ, I mean, there's really nothing you can't do. A couple key features I want to go over. We have beautifully designed room models ranging from small ambiances in rooms to large concert halls, huge cathedrals. You can see the sizes as in the preset drop down up here. It is divvied up based on size and tempo sync, which is extremely helpful. We also have an ambience menu, loads of amazing sounding presets. Okay, so the first thing I want to point out is we have a space control. That's probably the most important element of this, which is right here. So you can dictate the essentially the length of the reverb, okay? And what's very cool is they also have these shapes on the outside here, so the further you increase it, you know, you're getting up into very long reverb times like you might find in a church or a cathedral or something like this right here. The space control basically smartly and smoothly combines the room model and the decay time of the reverb. So that is that marriage that you'll see of the time with the room model on the outside, and it just makes it a very clever, it makes the workflow very easy when you're setting your decay time. On the topic of the decay, we have a decay rate over here on the right. So whatever your space setting is here or your decay setting, you can tweak this to be 100%, 200%, so you can increase the space or the decay size without even going over to this knob, or you can have it and go to 50% here. I believe that was on 2.7, so we'll go back to that. We also have an intelligent stereo width control. So on the right here, we can actually widen our stereo image even further than stereo. Or if we'd like to go to mono, we can collapse it and put a stereo reverb into mono. All right, so one of my favorite features is this distance control here, and basically what the distance control does is you can see it says close and far, and this is adjust the proximity to the sound source in the selected space, okay? Very convenient to have. We have a character control over here, clean, lively, and chorus, so we could go to an extremely clean setting, which would be a very transparent decay, to a lively reverb with pronounced reflections and echoes up top, and then all the way on the right we can chorus and modulate the sound of the reverb. We have a brightness control all the way on the left, so we can go from dark to bright. I'll show you what that sounds like when we start running some audio through it. And at the bottom here, we have another very important control piece. We have the pre-delay. So I kind of wish this was up top, to be honest, because pre-delay is a very important part of setting your reverb. But nonetheless, it is down here. Now on the right here, we can click this little button, and what this will do is we can actually sync tempo sync the reverb to the BPM of the session. So we can choose quarter notes, eighth notes, if I get it to stay open, 16th notes, and we can do 30-second notes. Very, very cool, very convenient, just a very easy way to dial in your reverb. Okay, last but not least, as I mentioned before, we have a 6-band EQ on the bottom here. If any of you are familiar with the Pro Q2, this is kind of like a Pro Q2 Lite. You can't do everything you can do on the Pro Q2, but you can do just about everything you need to do to EQ your reverb, all right? So as I hit escape there, we go back to the original size of our reverb. Now I want to go ahead and solo the vocal up, and we're going to listen to each of these by themselves. I'll exaggerate them, and then we'll put them through their paces, okay? So I am going to bypass, I have a little slap delay on here, and I'll bypass the plate for now. So what I want us to focus on is what I call this office verb, which is the fat ambient setting. It's a very short room. All it does is it takes the sound source and it just brings it a little bit away from our faces, and it pushes it back a little bit into the mix. Let's check it out.
When's the last time we looked each other in the eyes? Last time we dressed up for the ball.
Now I'm going to push this to exaggerate it so you can hear it.
When's the last time we looked each other in the eyes? Last time we dressed up for the ball. Last time we felt a raging jealousy inside, or any raging feeling at all.
So very cool. If we come up here now, let's start tweaking some of these settings that I just went over. I'm going to keep it exaggerated. So this is a short room again, like I said. If we wanted to increase that room size, we would push the space up.
When's the last time we looked each other in the eyes? Last time we dressed up for the ball.
So you can hear that the size of the reverb got bigger. It pushed the vocal, it does push the vocal further back if we unsolo this.
When's the last time we looked each other in the eye? Last time we dressed up for the ball.
Now if I bring this back down, it'll bring the vocal more forward in the mix.
When's the last time we looked each other in the eye? Last time we dressed up for the ball.
So it's really easy to tweak your reverb to your needs and to your taste. While we're on here, let's move some of these other knobs around. We'll start with the brightness.
When's the last time we looked each other in the eyes? Last time we dressed up for the ball.
So that's bright.
Last time we felt a raging jealousy inside, or any raging feeling at all.
And I just went to dark there. To me, it just sounds like it's kind of like a filter motion, and it's just very cool because if you want to change the brightness on the fly without having to come down here to the EQ, you can do that very easily. Okay, let's go ahead and mute this now, and I want to listen to the vocal plate. So let's pull this up front, and we'll mute the office, and we'll bring the plate in.
When's the last time we looked each other in the eyes? Last time we dressed up for the ball. Last time we felt a raging jealousy inside, or any raging feeling at all.
So a couple things I want to point out here that are a little bit different. The distance is set to far, so I'm going to pull this back, and you will hear the distance kind of get a little closer.
When's the last time we looked each other in the eyes? Last time we dressed up for the ball.
So what that does to me is it almost makes it sound like the virtual space it's emulating, or in this case a plate, it actually makes it sound like it's getting smaller, and that the sound source is smaller and closer as well, of course. Let's play with this character knob a little bit. I'll put this back up the middle.
When's the last time we looked each other in the eyes?
So that's clean all the way to the left. Let's go to the second verse.
There's a whole world happening just under our breath, covered by the slinging of mud.
So that's about as pristine as it gets. Lively straight up the middle will be a combination of the clean and the chorusing.
There's a whole world happening just under our breath, covered by the slinging of mud.
It's not too easy to hear. I gotta be honest, I don't hear a ton of chorusing going on, especially if we go all the way 100%.
There's a whole world happening just under our breath, covered by the slinging of mud.
I think instead of actually adding warble to it, to me it sounds like it just thickens up the reverb, which is great. It doesn't need to have movement. Thickening the reverb is fantastic. Now here's where I want to show how easy it is to dial in this EQ. So one thing I like to do when I reverb specifically vocals, I will commonly put an EQ after my reverb on a send, and then what I'll do is I'll filter the bottom and I'll filter the top, and I'll kind of pull them in, but especially the top, because I think it's extra important to kind of get rid of some of that crispiness. So all we do is we hover our mouse over here until you see a node. We can pull it down. So what it does is it defaults to a high shelf. Right now we're cutting it. You can see it's at 12.3K. We're cutting 10 dB. And it tells you our Q is 0.3. But the way that we change our the shape of our curve is we click on this right here. So all the way on the left, this is a bell curve. This is going to be a low shelf. This is going to be a high pass filter. It's on a high shelf right now, and then this is a low pass filter, and this is what I want it to be on. So now I'm going to move it back up here to get our Q closer to 1. And then we can change the slope of our filter right here. It's on 12 dB per octave. If you want a more gentler slope, you can set it to 6. And you can go as steep as 96 dB per octave. So very, very cool. What I'm going to do now is roll this back a bit. Like I said, I always like to take a bit of the high end out just because reverbs can get a little crispy on vocals. So we'll do this something like, I don't know, about 11K.
There's a whole world happening just under our breath, covered by the slinging of mud. There's a pain that doesn't even have a name yet.
Now we're also doing the same thing on the bottom here. This is a high pass filter with a more gentle slope, 6 dB per octave, 121 hertz. I'm going to pull this back a little bit.
There's a whole world happening just under our breath, covered by the slinging of mud.
So I want to start playing around with this decay rate EQ, and I want you to listen to what it does to the tail of the reverb. I'm going to exaggerate the reverb a little bit now.
There's a whole world happening just under our breath, covered by the slinging of mud. There's a pain that doesn't even have a name yet. Injury, hemorrhaging blood. There's a fire still flickering from years ago, unsure if it should comfort or burn.
So as you can see, when I'm doing a really big boost here in the presence area, it is really brightening that tail up. So what the blue bands will do is control the decay of the reverb tail. Okay, so you can EQ that to your taste for your project, and then you can go down to this yellow section here, which will kind of hone in the entire reverb tone, not just the tail, but everything from, early reflections, and so on and so forth. I want to look at the analyzer here. We have a fantastic built-in analyzer. Now, I have it set to reverb and post, but we can turn it off. So all we got to do is toggle that. So you're not going to see anything here because we have it off.
There's a whole world happening just under our breath.
Okay, so we can come and set it to pre and post, and this will only show you the EQ.
There's a whole world happening just under our breath.
And if you want to see the reverb combined with the post EQ, you would click the latter.
There's a whole world happening just under our breath.
Down here, we also have an in and an out level control. Clicking in the middle here will bypass the unit.
There's a whole world happening just under our breath, covered by the slinging of mud.
So very, very easy to use. And I think the more that you guys play with it and kind of check it out in your projects, I think you'll get a really good grasp on it. Just for fun, let's toggle through some presets here. I find that the presets, it doesn't matter if it says it's for horns. It can sound amazing on other instruments. So here's a bright, large room.
There's a whole world happening just under our breath, covered by the slinging of mud. There's a pain that doesn't even have a name yet.
So, it really does sound good.
There's a whole world happening just under our breath, covered by the slinging of mud. There's a pain.
So right here, it sounds extremely sizzly. So, just as a personal taste with these controls, I would pull back on this brightness here.
There's a whole world happening just under our breath.
And then what I would probably do is I would, cut a bunch of these highs.
There's a whole world happening just under our breath, covered by the slinging of mud.
And you can see just by those two moves right there, we really tamed a lot of that sizzliness on top. Let's go to a very large space. There's some very kind of ethereal sounding reverbs in here, which can be really fun for experimental stuff.
There's a whole world happening just under our breath.
20-second long reverb. That's crazy.
There's a whole.
These are really, really long. We can do tempo sync stuff. So as I showed you below with the pre-delay, you're going to see now it's synced up. So you'll see one. So this is a 16th note, and that will correspond to the preset. So 16th note, very bright scooped.
There's a whole world happening just under our breath, covered. Put your ear to the ground and your fist through the wall.
This is a 32nd note bright synth slap.
Put your ear to the ground and your fist through the wall. Put your ear to the ground.
Can actually emulate a slap delay. There's so much stuff that you can do with this reverb. It is insane. One more thing I just want to show you before I split is I'm going to put it on a drum loop and you can hear what it sounds like on some drums. Okay, so this particular session doesn't have a standard drum kit in it, so I just went and opened a virtual instrument. We got Addictive Drums 2, got a loop going. I am using Pro-R as an insert, so we're going to pay extra close attention to our mix knob here. One thing to point out is the mix knob, you can highlight this little lock right here, and what that will do is it will keep your mix percentage the same when you're toggling through all the presets, which is awesome. So, if you wanted to fly through a bunch of different presets and have, say, 18% wetness, it would stay the same. If you didn't, you would just unselect that, all right? So I have a medium drum room pulled open, and let's hear what that sounds like. Sounds great. Now, one thing I want to do is let's play with the distance knob. This is really going to be apparent, especially in a drum room setting. That's on far. That's close. So it really makes a tremendous difference here. There's so much control that we have with the Pro-R. It's very easy to dial in, settings from the presets, or if you want to start from scratch, it is very easy to go from there as well. All right, so that's it for me. My name is Pete with MixBetterNow.com. This has been a little overview of the brand new FabFilter Pro-R Reverb. You can go check it out at FabFilter.com. They do 30-day fully functioning demos, and definitely take advantage of it and check it out. As always, I appreciate you guys watching. I hope you have a great day, and I will catch you next time.